think I can do this. Hang on. We can still Odd Eyes Fusion. But first, we shall Pendulum Shokan. Swing forth, Pendulum, carve the arc of victory. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever he says in the anime. What is goody with you all today? My name is ReijiVT, and today I have a challenge. Today I'm going to be attempting to build the best version of a Pendulum deck I can, using only 3 copies of the Master of Pendulum structure deck, as well as getting 2 free pulls in any Pendulum-centric secret pack. The goal is to build a competent enough deck that I can use to learn how to utilize Pendulums more. Now, why am I doing this? Well, pretty much what I just said. I want to learn how to use Pendulums much better because, well, out of all the different summon mechanics present in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pendulum is the one that I know the least about. It's for no specific reason other than I just never went in on learning this mechanic back when it first got revealed and came out. And before anyone says it, no, I am not anti-Pendulum. No, I do not think that Pendulums ruined Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they're too complicated or whatever, or that Pendulums were Yu-Gi-Oh! Started going downhill. No, none of that. And as tempted as I am to speak on my opinion on all of that and Yu-Gi boomers, I won't. This time. Pendulums were first introduced to us way back in 2014 with Duelist Alliance, which was the first set of the Arc 5 era, and I, like many, were very shook by how these cards were structured. I especially was taken aback a bit because this was at a point where I had taken a long break from Yu-Gi-Oh! After the Zexal era. What are these half monster, half spell cards? I wasn't disgusted or anything, I was fascinated. I wanted to learn more. After picking up the newest Pendulum themed structure decks around, I quickly got to learning, before immediately dropping the mechanic so hard altogether after not being able to figure them out effectively quickly enough, and went back to the stars to exceed summon and speed on with my synchros. However, I still wanted to learn this and get this down as the years went by, so I kept all my Pendulum cards and decks that I had built handy for when I would decide to go all in. And now, here I am, giving myself this challenge because I thought it'd be a fun way to learn this properly, and I love documenting my duel progress like this, as you guys have come to see already. Pendulums are the one summon mechanic I have historically stayed away from as much as I can because, well, there's a lot going on with these cards. First of all, the fact that they double as both monsters and spells brings in a whole new level of gameplay to the game because they have 2 effects. One effect if they're played as monsters, and another if they're played as spells. These cards definitely rocked the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Way back in the day and were the center of a lot of conversation when it came to how the game is balanced and if they were fair or not. Today, Pendulums are considered pretty average because they've been hidden a lot of different ways by Konami, but we've still been getting some really good stuff with Pendulums if you happen to be a fan of the mechanic. It's still a very strong mechanic with some very powerful decks. Also, these cards are always the perfect example that many turn to when it comes to the subject of too much reading in Yu-Gi-Oh! I always see the Endymion Magician guy being the poster boy of this topic, and you know what? Rightfully so. I ain't about to read all that, dog. Now for me personally, even though I've always kind of stayed away from this mechanic, there's always been some really cool Pendulum based decks that I've always wanted to make and try. And though I'm not confident enough to make a whole deck profile on a Pendulum centric deck or archetype yet, this is a good start for me. So consider this a hybrid deck profile type vid similar to the ones that I've made on this channel before. I don't want to invest fully into a deck when I have no idea how to even use the summon mechanic properly, but I also want to be able to play a decent deck that's fun to learn the mechanic with. So here we go. The deck I was aiming to make is an Odd Eyes and or Dimension Dragon centered deck which focuses on summoning the absolute unit of a boss monster, Supreme King Zark. Because, well, I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime all throughout while it was airing originally, and I thought these were the coolest monsters. I also recently read the entirety of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 manga too, but I don't think I'm ready to take on such a task yet, so I'll save that for another time when I'm much more experienced. For this video specifically, I think I'll be leaning more towards the Odd Eyes version build of this deck because, upon trying to construct a Zark-centered deck, I realized that this deck is expensive as frick. So I'll be trying it the alternative way. Baby steps, you know? I also think that Odd Eyes, and to an extension, Pen Magicians, is a very good intro to Pendulum archetype, and I think that's why so many of the Yu-Gi-Oh products during the Arc 5 era of the game, and especially the structured decks and starter decks, were so focused on Odd Eyes and its support. It's one of those archetypes that's great because it can be played in so many different ways and in varying skill levels, whether beginner, experienced, or veteran. As much as I used to really try and play Pens back in the day, I definitely think I'm more on the beginner side of things when it comes to this mechanic. And that's just me keeping it 100 with y'all and being upfront. I am not a master of all the summon mechanics yet, even though I've been playing this game for years now. Pendulum has always been the summoning mechanic that I have the least confidence in and least experience with because my brain just never had an attention span back then. I don't know. But I want to learn is what I'm trying to say. It's not like Light Sworns that I covered previously where I had no intention of learning how to play because I couldn't wrap it around my brain quickly enough. No, I want to know how to utilize this mechanic better because there's so many cool decks and archetypes that I'm missing out on and limiting myself to if I don't. So, as I do here, I'm gonna take you through the deck profile and explain my experience with said archetype and deck and what I was finding on my journey as I learned to play the deck. So, here we go. This time, I'll be going through the actual pulls and building process of this so that I can kind of document what I'm needing to achieve. So, I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, and to the shop we go. All right. Oh wait, the new selection pack actually just came out. The Newborn Dragon. Let me actually take a look at what's in this pack because like I've seen the featured cards in this pack, but I haven't seen like everything yet. So what do we have? So we've got your big hitters. We've got Boro and Dragon, which is actually really good support. For Rockets, we've got the new Sword Soul boss monster that's in here. We've got Mirror Jade, which is the big one. And then we've got like the other ones. We've got the Blue Eyes ones. There's so many UR cards in here. Why there's so many UR cards in this pack? Yo, we even have Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord. That's so cool. It came in Ghost from the Past and they actually just added it for this. Let's see if we can actually try to squeeze it in last minute depending on the type of deck build that we come up with. But going down, like we've got Blue Eyes stuff, we've got we've got Blue Eyes Sword Soul stuff. Yeah, we get Odd Eyes support in here too. That's actually really cool. We got Odd Eyes Dragon, we've got Odd Eyes Saber Dragon, Odd Eyes Lancer Dragon is down here. Is that all we're getting? Oh, we've got the Supreme King Gates in here. So we've got Zero and Infinity. Is Dark Worm in here? I don't think I saw Dark Worm. Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon is in here. Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. Like, they've gotta have Dark Worm in here. Otherwise, I'm probably just blind. But anyways, I'm not pulling from this. We are headed over to here. And this is what we're getting. So let me just go ahead and just purchase this real quick. I've been saving up my gems nice and easy for this, so let's go. All right, yep, purchase. All right, that's one. Let's purchase the second one. What's really cool is there's actually some really neat cards in these decks that are very key to the Pendulum strategy. Let me actually see what's in here. We've got like, okay, this is a pretty good base like starter for Pendulums. So we've got your Dragon Pulse, you got your Dragon Pit, Tuning Magicians, you've got both Stargazer and I'm sure Time Gazer's in here. Yep, there he is. Sky Iris is in here. That's actually really cool that we get 3 copies of that now. And then in our extra deck, we get Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon, we get Enlightenment Paladin in here, Nirvana Hype. What is this? I am not reading that. I'm not reading that. If I summon you, I summon you. Not bad, honestly. Not bad for like a really decent start, like the Odd Eyes and Pendulum mechanic. I think this is really nice. We're pulling from these 2 packs right here. Now, I did craft like 1 card from each just so I could have them available, but I'll be crafting from the Counter Swing Magicians and the Draconic Resplendence pack. So first up, I'm gonna go with the Counter Swing Magicians, just to get the magician stuff out of the way. So here we go, 10 packs. Let's go. Please give me something good. Oh man, this isn't looking good. Okay, let's go. Let's see what we get. Pack number 1. Counter Swing Magicians. What do we got? Pack number 1. Bring. Apprentice. Okay, we don't need that. Pendulum. Cool. Okay, could be useful. We got 2 Enlightenment Paladins, bro. Yeah, I have a very vague idea of like what I'm looking for in terms of like key cards from this pack specifically. All right, what do we get? I'm Pendulum Graph, Noble Dragon Magician. Interesting. Another Enlightenment Paladin. Thank you very much. All right, pack number 5, halfway there. Let's go. This is our SR pack. We get 2 SRs in here. Come on. Come on, please give me something useful. Please give me something useful. Morphtronics? We got Chronograph at least. Okay. We got a Royal Rare Morphtronic Videon. Yo, the Morphtronic video is coming in the future. Bet. I have to make a Morphtronic video. I have to make a Morphtronic video just because of this. Bet. Please just give me. Okay, no SRs in this. Megalith, Zhongsheng Magician, another Time Pendulum Graph, Soul Pendulum. All right, we're about to wrap this up. Come on. I need something. I haven't even gotten a single UR from this. This is such a ripoff. Where's my UR? It better be before the final pack. Oh, Purple Poison Magician. That's I know that this card is really good for this. So that's actually a good card. Pack number 9. Come on, where's my UR, man? Come on, don't cheat me out of this, man. Come on, I'm not pulling another 1,000 gems for 10 packs. I'm not. Please. This better be it. This better be the UR pack. I'm actually about to get cheated. Wow. I'm about to get cheated. Okay, all right. What do we got? Harmonizing. White Wing. Okay. Black Fang. No UR. It's one of those packs. It really had to be for this video, huh? It really had to be while I was recording this that we don't get a UR. Okay, that's great. Oh my gosh. As your 10-pack purchase had no URs, your next 10-pack purchase of this pack, Counter Swing Magicians, will be guaranteed to have at least 1 UR. Don't lie to me. I can only pull 1. I'm not pulling another one. No, guaranteed UR my foot. Get it out of here. I hope we at least get what we need from Draconic Resplendence. Let me actually go over the cards real quick. What are we looking for? I'm looking for maybe Arc Pendulum Dragon, probably Revolution Dragon, because this card is just very, very well rounded. What else do we got? We got everything we need in this pack. I feel like no matter how this pack pool goes, I'll be pretty happy with whatever. I'm mainly just after this Arc Pendulum Dragon. I don't know what I can do with this All Eyes Phantom Dragon. If it would even like, I don't know. Again, we still gotta build, we still gotta like experiment and all of that, but I feel like everything we need is basically in this pack. Okay, well, at least this one's looking a little bit better. At least we get 1 UR pack in here, plus the 2 SR packs. So, let's go. I just hope that 1 UR is Arc Pendulum. Here we go. Pack number 1, we got... Okay. Odd Eyes Wizard Dragon, Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon ×2, Odd Eyes Vortex, oh wait. We got Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. That's actually really cool. I really like Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon purely just because of in the anime. I don't know its usability in the actual game, but I remember seeing the episode where Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon got something for the first time, and I thought it was the coolest thing. All right, next up, we got Odd Eyes Wing Dragon. I believe this is the merging of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. I was about to say Synchro Wing. Synchro Wing? What? This is our SR. What do you got for me? Marine Says? What? We got Odd Eyes Saber Dragon though. That Utopia is always bait. Every time that... Oh, wait! I might... Okay, never mind. I retract what I just said about that Utopia, because that Utopia animation is always the biggest bait. What do we got? Okay, Skull Crobat. All Eyes Phantom Dragon. We gotta put this guy in the deck now. That means we're not getting Arc Pendulum, though. This doesn't look like the UR, but okay. This pack is so much better than that Magician pack that we just pulled from. We got 2 SRs in this. Persona Dragon, all right. Shape Sister. Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon. Okay, not bad, not bad. We got another Persona Dragon right there, and we got 2 more Vortex Dragons. Very good. Odd Eyes Venom Dragon. Okay, well, I believe that does it. This is what we got from this pack, and this already looks leagues better than what we got from that Magician pack. All Eyes Phantom Dragon. I believe this card is supposed to be like the manga equivalent to Supreme King Zark in the anime. So if that's the case, it probably has like a very ridiculous summon requirement or something. I'm not gonna read it right now. I'll read it later. Again, here's that Rebellion Dragon. Odd Eyes Wing Dragon, not bad. We got like a billion Vortex Dragons. What is this? I think we can make do. I think we can make do with what we got. Let's go over to the build now. Alright, so using everything we received from the structure deck as well as our pulls from the secret packs, this is what I've come up with. Now, just to start straight away, I will say that I did have to hardcraft only a couple of cards in this list that I didn't pull in my packs, so I'll just say that now. Now, I know this isn't a peak Pendulum deck or anything, but again, it's more of an intro for myself to learn the mechanic better, using an archetype that I think is very cool. What was also very helpful is that a lot of the key cards that you need for a good Odd Eyes or Pen Magician deck are included in the structure deck, so if you ever want to get started with this strategy yourself, this is a great pickup point. You know, just like in the TCG, you buy your structure deck and then you buy your booster packs for support. Yeah, and now to take you guys through this with me. Because of the nature of Pendulum cards, half monsters, half spells and all, most if not all of these cards consist of Pendulum cards which double as spells when in the Pen Zone too. There's gonna be a lot more reading to do this time around, but I'm going to do my best in highlighting the key parts of this deck. First up, we have both Dragon Pit and Dragon Pulse Magicians, which both allow you to destroy a monster or spell if you have a Magician Pendulum in your other Pendulum zone. Dragon Pit destroying monsters and Dragon Pulse destroying spells. These guys are your basic Pend 101 monsters that show you the basics of Pendulum Zone effects. Stargazer and Time Gazer Magician, along with Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, who I'll get to a bit later, are the poster boys of the Pendulum mechanic. Time Gazer lets you prevent the destruction of a card in your other pen zone once when it would be destroyed, and when played as a monster, prevents your opponent from activating any traps when your Pendulum monster battles until the end of the damage step. Stargazer, when a monster is returned to your hand by an opponent's card effect, can special summon one monster with the same name as that returned card. Skull Crobat Joker is a key for this deck as it lets us search our Magician, Pendulum monster, or Odd Eyes monster to add from our deck to our hand. Its Pend effect only lets us summon the aforementioned types of cards, but that's not an issue since that's what this whole deck is, just Odd Eyes and Pendulum Magicians. Odd Eyes Dissolver is our mini polymerization of this deck and is our enabler for fusion summoning. If one of your Pendulum monsters battles, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, that battling monster can't be destroyed by battle. Pretty neat. Astrograph Sorcerer and Chronograph Sorcerer are the advanced and more experienced versions of Stargazer and Time Gazer Magicians, and they help make it easier to get out Supreme King Zark if that's the direction we wanted to head in with this deck. But because we're not focusing on that just yet, one day, I will do it. One day. I've mainly got these guys in here because they bounce off of each other quite well with their pendulum effects, letting you take either Time Gazer or Stargazer from your deck or hand and placing them in the pen zone or special summon them. Okay, you guys still with me? There's still so much reading to do with these cards, but we're almost there. Let's go over the actual Odd Eyes cards now, why don't we? Odd Eyes Dragon is a level 7 dragon monster that lets you inflict burn damage equal to half the attack of the monster it destroyed. Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon is the advanced version of that card, even in its effect. When this card is tribute summoned, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls and inflict burn damage equal to that monster's full attack. And when it destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon a level 5 or higher monster from your hand or grave in defense. This card is hella nice with its effect, and it's very handy when it does come up. And then the poster boy himself, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. When it's played as a monster, any battle damage this card inflicts is doubled. Yikes. And when played as a pendulum, it can reduce the battle damage you take involving your pendulum monster to 0. You can also destroy it to add a pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Very, very handy. And then we have Odd Eyes Phantasmal Dragon. Okay, this one's pretty loaded. When played as a Pendulum card, you can discard one card and add one face-up dragon Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. When played as a monster, if you have two cards occupying your pen zones and a face-up Odd Eyes pen monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't Pendulum summon the turn you activate this effect. When this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can debuff them by 1000 attack points for each Pendulum monster in your extra deck, only during that damage calculation. Okay, so that's a lot, but essentially the more face-up pen cards you have in your extra deck, the better this effect is. And with the solid 3k attack, this card helps a lot when we're on the offensive with this deck. And finally, we have Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. It has no monster effect, but for its Pendulum effect, if your Odd Eyes card or card Z is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon another Odd Eyes monster from your deck, hand, or graveyard. This can only be used once per turn. This card is great for the Pend effect alone, as it just lets you summon another Odd Eyes monster when your other one is destroyed. And with 2700 attack, it's a great beater, even if it doesn't have a monster effect. Okay, whew. That's gonna do it for the main monsters. Now onto the spells, yay! I'm going to keep this one very short. Duelist Alliance is our primary spell, which lets us add a Pendulum monster or Pendulum spell or trap from our deck to our hand if we already have a card in the pen zone. Sky Iris is the field spell of this deck, and it protects our cards that are in the Pendulum zone. It also lets us target one face-up card we control and destroy it, and when you do, add one Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. This effect can only be used once per turn. This card is big key if just for the protection it gives our Pendulum cards in our pen zones. The ability to add any of the Odd Eyes cards by destroying any card we control is great, because with the Pendulum Magician and Odd Eyes cards, some of them you want in your grave. Pendulum Shift is a great card that lets us manipulate the scales of our Pendulum monsters, which allows for more potential for bigger plays. And Spiral Flame Strike is Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon's signature attack. It lets us destroy a card on the field if we control an Odd Eyes monster, or it lets us search our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon from our face-up extra deck. And this is any Odd Eyes monster too, from level 1 to 7. And then we have Odd Eyes Fusion, which is our main polymerization and fusion card, which lets us also use two Odd Eyes monsters in our extra deck as fusion material if our opponent controls two or more monsters and we control none. This card is... like, I get it, it's our poly fusion card for Odd Eyes, but a couple of traps to mention. Pendulum Reborn is a monster reborn for our Pendulum monsters. Unwavering Bond is a mini Solemn card that lets us negate our opponent's Pendulum monster's effect and banish it. And Pendulum Switch is a handy card that lets us swap our cards in our monster zone and Pendulum zones with each other. Okay, let's wrap this up by going over our extra deck. Nice and easy. First up are both Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon and Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, both which serve as our big negates in this deck. Vortex Dragon can bounce back an opponent's monster back to their hand and can negate spells and traps by shuffling a face-up pen monster from the extra deck into the deck. And Absolute Dragon lets you negate an opponent's attack by detaching material and lets you summon another Odd Eyes monster from your hand or grave, just like that. And when it's destroyed, it lets you tag into another Odd Eyes card from your extra deck. This is such a cool effect. We have our two other fusion monsters in both Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon, who is essentially a more buffed version of the original Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon, which can use Pendulum cards as fusion material. This lets us then attack multiple times depending on the levels of the monsters you use to fusion summon. It's very simple and makes way more sense than how I just explained it. I'm sorry. I'm still kind of trying to understand all these cards myself, even after the first time around. I also have all 4 Dimension Dragons in here, including Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, and Clear Wings Synchro Dragon, each being very useful on their own with great effects. I'm not gonna explain these guys too much, but they are pretty key for the situations they come up in. And also, if I ever get to the Zark chapter of the saga, I will be giving these guys a full highlight. I'm also running the Odd Eyes variants of these cards, which are more powered up hybrid forms of these cards, each also having their own powerful effects to utilize. Odd Eyes Wing Dragon, Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, and Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, as well as Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, who's kinda hard to summon, but worth it when you do, are all cards that help complete the extra deck a bit better. And finally, both Enlightenment Paladin and Nirvana High Paladin, who... Yeah, I'm not reading all that, Chief. Odd Eyes is an archetype with a very straightforward goal, but it's extremely versatile in what it can do because you can pair it with a few other archetypes that just fit very well. It has many different variants and styles that you can play it with, so you can always find a playstyle that's right for you, no matter what skill level you're at. And I love it for that. But if you're anything like me who still has very little experience with the pendulum mechanic as a whole, be prepared to actually read these cards because it's so much more important with them. Seriously, I have never done so much reading in my life, but a determined duelist is a good duelist, and your boy is determined. After putting this all together and learning it from the ground up, let's see how I do. And now, onto the duels. And now getting into the duel. Now, because of the deck that we've built, it's not like, again, like I said earlier, it's not peak Pendulum. It's not the most optimal thing. This is more just like an intro to Pendulum for myself, but I'm still gonna do the best with the cards that I have within this deck that I was limited to. So my opponent's gonna go ahead, activate the Gold Sark, and they're gonna send a Cyber Dark Horn. And what was that I was saying in my last video about something about always having a Cyber Dragon opponent in one of these videos? I swear I do not set these up. It just so happens that Cyber Dragon players they're just everywhere. They're just everywhere. But we're gonna go ahead, continue here. I'm gonna go ahead and set Mirage Dragon, but it's just gonna fall apart to the Magic Jammer. And this is a weakness of Pendulums. Literally any spell stopping strategy, they kind of just, you know, stop. There are workarounds. I did go ahead and activate just the Dragon Pit Magician because I did have another scale 8. I'm gonna go ahead, put Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon in the other scale. I mainly just want 2 Pendulum cards in the scale already. I'm gonna put Supreme Gate 0 onto the field, which is gonna allow it to destroy Odd Eyes and itself. I'm gonna be able to summon, let's slow down for a little bit here. It's gonna allow me to summon out the Odd Eyes Wing Dragon. Now, its effects are negated, and it does have 0 attack, so I kind of just have this on the board just for the turn until I kind of figure things out and get things going myself. Our opponent is gonna get going now. They're gonna activate this, summon the Cyber Dark Keel, activate the Guard Dragon just for the equip. They're gonna boost themselves up, attack my Wing Dragon, and leave my field basically empty. Now, I draw into the Sky Iris here, which is exactly what I want. I'm gonna activate it straight away and immediately Pendulum summon back my Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. It is a lot stronger than the Cyber Dark Keel, but I will just first activate the Sky Iris because I want to get my Art Pendulum into that other scale. I'm gonna go ahead, attack with Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but I will get Mirror Force. But it's okay because Art Pendulum's effect allows another Odd Eyes to come onto the field when another Odd Eyes is destroyed. So once an Odd Eyes gets destroyed onto your from your field, you can bring in another Odd Eyes from your deck, basically. This let me easily go into my Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon, which has the attack power, and I'm just gonna leave him there for the rest of my turn. Back on over to my opponent's turn. It is turn 2. They are gonna get their banished monster back, and they're gonna summon up the Cyber Dark Horn, activate the Guard Dragon, again, equip it to the Cyber Dark Horn. They're gonna add the Cyber Dark Realm to their hand, and they're gonna shuffle around with some of the other Cyber Dark cards. I've kind of stopped keeping up with them at this point, so I'm kind of just trying to see, okay, I know what you're gonna go into already. You're gonna fusion summon into your big Cyber Dark. They end up going into Cyber Dark Dragon, which is gonna get boosted for 1500. Only 1500, but it's gonna get boosted up to 3k with the equip with the Cyber Dark Claw. It's gonna get passed back to me, and I'm gonna go into the Unwavering Bond, but that doesn't matter. I'm immediately gonna Pendulum summon back my Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And this is the crazy thing. I'm gonna be able to go into All Eyes Phantom Dragon now. This is a card that I didn't really give a highlight in the profile because I genuinely wasn't expecting that this card would come up literally at all. But this card did come up several times. It came up several times during my time dueling in both ranked and just kind of like testing in general. And it has a pretty crazy effect, which you guys are about to see right here. So every time it battles, its attack doubles. It can also negate any card in any spell or trap by discarding a spell or trap from our side of the field as well. So it's gonna get boosted up to 6k, and I'm gonna go ahead and just swing. Supreme King 0 is gonna get destroyed because I do want Persona Dragon in there, in that other Pendulum scale, because Supreme King Gate 0 isn't really doing anything for us at this point. My opponent's gonna go ahead, activate the Cyber Dark Realm. I'm gonna say nope. All Eyes Phantom Dragon's effect is gonna activate, sending away our trap card and basically negating that Cyber Dark Realm. They are gonna go for the Cyber Dark Claw into their graveyard, add the Cybernetic Horizon into their hand, and they're gonna, watch this, they're gonna activate the Monster Reborn, put my Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon onto their side of the field, and try to just crash into my All Eyes, not reading the effect, and they're gonna take the damage and eat it, because obviously nobody wants to read this card. Nobody wants to read any Pendulum cards, and our opponent did suffer for that. So All Eyes Phantom Dragon did come up several times. It does have a really, really cool effect. It's basically like Supreme King Zark Light version. I say that mainly because this is the manga counterpart to Supreme King Zark's anime appearance, but its effect in the actual card itself is very, very strong and does come up several times, such as in here. Right, and now moving into this next duel coming up now. So by this point, I've kind of been playing it for a little bit. I've figured out my basic kind of game plan, you know, how this sort of works. It's a lot simpler than I made it out to be myself, but we're gonna get straight into the duel. My opponent is gonna go first. They're gonna set the 1 and just pass it straight over. I'm gonna draw into the Spiral Flame Strike, and I'm gonna activate it straight away, adding the Arc Pendulum to my hand. Obviously, I'm gonna set it into the 1 scale, and since I don't have anything else better to set in the other scale, I'm just gonna use the Jiang K Magician, which I already have, normal summon the Skull Crobat Joker and activate its effect, and then be able to go into the Pendulum summon for Supreme King Dark Worm and Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Now, over here, Supreme King Dark Worm's effect is going to activate, adding me the Supreme King Gate 0. From then on, I'm going to be able to Xyz summon, using the both of them into my Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. And it's funny because I actually didn't summon this guy as many times as I would have liked to. Throughout the course of just these duels, he just never came up. But here, I'm going to go into it. I'm going to go ahead, attack their 1 face down, and I'm going to be able to use Dark Rebellion Dragon's effect here. Now, here, I kind of wish I didn't activate Dark Rebellion's effect, because the monster is quite weak. I was going to wait until they have a much bigger body on the field, and then maybe use it. But what's done is done. I'm going to go ahead, activate Pendulum back, which is the trap that I said before, which is going to get me back my Supreme King Dark Worm and my Performer Power Skull Crobat. So here, I've got the gist of it. I figure if I can just Pendulum summon every turn, I'm gonna have an option. I'm gonna have something that I'm gonna be able to go into. So here, I'm gonna go into the Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which his effect is negated because of the Supreme King, but then it will allow me to go into Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon because of Arc Pendulum's effect. And now here, my opponent, I'm assuming at this point, just kind of like hard bricked, but it is gonna allow me to just kind of keep the momentum up, keep the aggression going, you know, brick or no brick. We're going in, and that's gonna do it for this duel. Okay, and now coming up on to this duel. Now, with Pendulums, again, I kind of figured out the basic game plan, but I want to see what options I always have available to me. So in this duel, this is me after kind of getting that understanding of like, okay, you have options at almost every turn if you just, you know, keep it up with the Pendulum summons. So we're gonna get started here. My opponent's gonna get started with Pot of Duality. They're gonna set 2, and they're gonna pass it over to my turn. So I'm gonna activate Arc Pendulum Dragon. They're gonna respond with the Max C. Now, Max C to this deck is kind of like, it is something that you kind of do have to worry about, because you're special summoning so many times, especially with Pendulum summoning, especially me that, you know, special summons every turn as well. I'm going to use a Pendulum summon and use the Odd Eyes Fusion to go into my first fusion, which is going to be Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. I'm going to set that in defense position, and my opponent is going to end off by activating the Metal Reflect Slime. And Odd Eyes Vortex is going to be able to negate that because, again, Odd Eyes Vortex is our negate of this deck. So it says when a spell, a trap, or another monster's effect is activated, you can shuffle one face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck back into the deck and negate the activation. So basically, as long as I Pendulum summon, as long as I have something face-up in my Pendulum extra deck, I can keep negating. So my game plan at this point is if you can just keep Pendulum summoning, it doesn't look like your opponent has the biggest response. So if you can just Pendulum summon every turn, it's going to give you something to be able to negate with every time your opponent tries to activate something. So over here, my opponent is going to set the 3 Ra's Disciples, and by this point, we've figured out what deck they're playing. They're trying to turbo out the Ra as quickly as possible, but I'm going to try and stop that at every point that I can, because that is something that I just do not want to happen. Odd Eyes Dragon is going to go up and do its thing. It's got a really nice burn effect. My opponent isn't going to be able to do too much on their turn because we are kind of tearing down their defenses. It's going to pass back to my turn. I'm going to be able to Pendulum summon into Jiangsheng Magician, who's going to be able to mimic the attack points of our Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. And because I'm declaring the attack, Odd Eyes Dissolver over here is going to be able to special summon himself. And we're going to be able to attack that second Ra's Disciple with the Odd Eyes Dragon. Odd Eyes Dragon's effect is going to activate, burning our opponent for 550, and Odd Eyes Dissolver is going to activate, attack that final Ra's Disciple, basically clearing our opponent's entire field. So at this point, I'm like, okay, just keep up the momentum, keep up the pressure, because again, we have options. Like, this is a deck, although this is kind of like a starter deck that we put together with a few extra things, we still have options in this deck. So I'm gonna go ahead, be able to fusion summon into Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Its effect isn't gonna be able to activate fully, but I will be able to Pendulum summon again into the Supreme King Gate 0, activate its effect to get out our Runai's Pendulum Dragon. I'm gonna activate Vortex Dragon and just be able to just attack with it. They have the Space Ghost on there, which allows them to summon just a bunch of sheep token. But again, Vortex Dragon has those negates to just stop this like at every turn, which for us is just really, really good. I don't know why I swung there with the Runais. I don't know what I was trying to accomplish. I can't remember exactly what was going through my head when I was like, oh, let me just try and swing. But we're gonna go ahead. Our opponent is gonna end off on the Egyptian God Slime. It's gonna be able to take out a Starving Venom, but Starving does have a floating effect where it destroys all special summon monsters that our opponent controls once it's sent to the graveyard, which is just wow. I'm gonna be able to Pendulum summon one more time into Jiangsheng Magician. They're gonna activate the Metal Reflex Slime again, but Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon is gonna come in with that negate, and at this point our opponent realizes, okay, alright, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Jiangsheng is gonna activate her effect, allowing her to copy the attack points of one of my Odd Eyes, and I'm gonna activate Sky Iris on that, but it's gonna be no use and no problem because we have those negates on deck. So I'm figuring this out like over time. Like, Odd Eyes is our big negate. There's also I believe it was Absolute Dragon as well, which we didn't get to see too much of this time around. Unfortunately, I was trying to make him as many times as I could, but I just kept drawing into all the fusion stuff, so I just kept going into Vortex Dragon and just doing a bunch of fusion stuff rather than XC stuff. There was a bunch of other stuff where I was able to just go into a lot of like XC's monsters, but I didn't summon them properly. But again, this is all just me figuring out this deck, but it's gonna do it for this final game here, and we're gonna switch it back now. And so that's finally gonna do it for the video today, guys. If you are still here, thank you so much for sticking around. I am so sorry this one was as long as it was. I think it has to be my longest archetype duel vid yet, but there was just so much reading we had to do this time. I do feel a lot more confident with the Pendulum mechanic as a whole after playing it a lot over these past few weeks. I also kind of feel like I made it seem a little bit harder for myself than it actually is, because I've kind of just stayed away from this mechanic for so long that it's just been very daunting to me, but I feel like I have a much better grasp on it now. I really enjoyed doing this challenge for myself too, where I buy the 3 structure decks and a few pack pulls, kind of testing out how stuff like this can work for me, and it was a lot of fun. I really want to give it a try, maybe with something else in the item shop, except Dragon Maid. I am not playing Dragon Maid. Maybe Utopia? We'll see. Now that I have more of a grip on Pendulum, there are some other Pendulum decks that I want to try now besides the Dimension Dragons and Zark themed deck build. I really want to learn how to play triple Ds, so I might hit the books on those. I know there was this whole meme of you need a really big brain to play triple Ds, but I really want to give it a shot now, so we'll see how that goes in the future. Anyways guys, thanks again for watching. Sorry it took a bit longer than my usual format, but I'm trying something new here. I truly appreciate it, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the Duel Arena.